exclusively on Survivor.
Had to be someone.
It's true. Steph, the tribe has spoken.
The episode has spoken! We're officially 90 minutes into Survivor 48, and that's more than enough time to start speculating about who the eventual winner might be. Especially since this premiere told you exactly how to feel, with really loud music that never let up from marooning to torch snuff. Seriously, even if they hadn't flubbed the first challenge, it was obvious that Vula was going to lose immunity just based on the soundtrack when we first got to each tribe's beach.
Would you like name and age and where you're from, where you live?
Even without the most heavy-handed music you've ever heard, there are lots of other long-established patterns in the show's editing you can use to guess what's going to happen. And that's exactly what I'll be doing all season long as I try to predict who will become the next sole survivor. And also who won't.
I already want to practice sitting on my hands. I think that will be the key to my game. Not taking action when I might direly want to.
According to the pre-game interviews, several contestants were hoping to work with Stephanie if they happened to be tribe mates, but Say wasn't one of those people. Throughout the premiere, she and Steph become the embodiment of Jeff's welcome speech to the cast.
Philosophically, am I going to commit and attack this game, or am I going to hesitate?
Active versus passive play style, risk-taking versus security, it's clear that these are some of the themes we'll be dealing with throughout the season.
If you're gonna play this game, come out here swinging, and I'm taking big swings. I definitely hit the ground running, and it feels like the right thing to do.
I can't imagine her sitting on her hands and just wanting to get to know people, even the same way some of us have decided to do. I see her wanting to get out there and play, and she seems to want to play hard. And time will tell who does have the better strategy.
Failure in the pursuit of something amazing, that's admirable. That's worthy. That's worth getting up off the couch and leaving your ordinary world behind you. Failure due to fear? Why even bother?
Stephanie wasn't afraid, though. She mostly just talked about Reiki too much and was pretty unlucky, not only for landing on the Vula tribe, but also because her strategy, to play a laid-back social game, has been proven effective in the new era as recently as this season. The early targets on the Siva and Lagi tribes are Charity and Star for gaming too hard too early, and neither of them barely gamed at all. For some reason, it just works when Say games too hard too early, and I think the reason might be Say.
I feel like everybody's liking me and whatnot, and that's cool, but I feel like I would like it more if I at least had an advantage or a security in my pocket.
Despite her name, Star is not one in this premiere. She's the last person to be introduced nearly halfway through the episode, unless you count this moment during the marooning when she didn't want to get wet while dismounting a boat into the water. When Star finally gets her first confessional, it's to talk about her tribe's strength. She doesn't even mention her own, and the only other time we hear from her, it's at the start of a scene that ends with her becoming the Lagi tribe's target after she spends too much time idol hunting, which you can only do if you will yourself a 4-person alliance first like Say did. But Star is the only Lagi member with no allies, let alone enough to form a majority. Currently, she's the easiest person to vote out if Lagi ever loses immunity, but based on the challenge performances so far, they might just not.
I don't know, maybe I'm just being paranoid. We'll see.
What is going on with Charity?
Charity's start to the premiere was promising, with an early introduction that focused on her career and how it's prepared her to be good at Survivor. Historically, a lot of winners talk about how their jobs will help them play the game.
I'm a police officer, so I can read people.
Being a bartender is an extremely social job. You learn that personality types want certain things from you.
I do hair and I own a salon. Building connections, building repertoire is literally my bread and butter.
But Charity's edit throughout the rest of the premiere wasn't as generous. Next, she and Star are both shown as Jeff talks about the need to adapt to avoid elimination. She's also on screen when he warns the group that they might fail. After, Charity is hardly featured again, and when she is, her bad social game is what's highlighted. She misreads the Siva tribe's dynamics by floating Kyle's name to his closest ally, Kamilla, and she doesn't even talk to Chrissy.
She doesn't talk to me.
And worst of all, less than an hour into the episode, 4 of Charity's 5 tribe mates form an alliance based solely on their mutual distrust of her.
I came here knowing I was gonna play a social game. Like, that's who I am, that's my strategy out the gate.
If there's no tribe swap this season, then Bianca might luck out like Star and ride her bad position in a good tribe all the way to the merge, but that wouldn't make her Survivor debut any stronger. We do learn that Bianca wants to play a social game, but by the end of the premiere, she has as many allies as confessionals. 1. And that ally, Thomas, already has another larger alliance Bianca isn't part of. One of the episode's bonus scenes on YouTube is also basically just 3.5 more minutes of her not fitting in with the rest of Logie Tribe.
I was a 4x1, 4x4, and 400 runner.
I was a 4x4 and 4x8.
I always wanted to try the long distance, but I was like,
Sprinters.
Yeah.
Sprinters. I'm with you. I ran the 1 and the 2, 4x1.
Bianca, did you do any sports? I know Star played basketball. How about you?
No, not as a kid. I was like a theater kid. Oh my god. Can the tribe stop talking about sports? Please. It's all the time. I didn't play sports growing up. Like, I was a theater kid.
For now, Bianca's Logie longevity depends on whether or not Thomas can secure her position as the 4th member of the California Girls. A spot she doesn't know she's competing for in an alliance she's never heard of. Worse, she's up against Eva, who's got her own Thomas in Joe. And potentially disastrous is this cut to Bianca as Jeff talks about the game inevitably leaving people behind.
Cedrek trying to get up for Bula. Cedrek really struggling.
We may meet Cedrek early in the episode, but by the end of it, we still haven't learned much about him. He's Say's most loyal ally within the Vula tribe's majority foursome. That's what half of his few confessionals are about. But if he keeps this up...
It's time to, as my son said, ball out, whatever that means. So my kids always say, couldn't you have found something cool? Couldn't you be like a brain doctor or heart doctor? You gotta be a butt doctor.
He'll just be an old-timer caricature before long. He'll also be on the bottom of Vula if the tribe's dynamic ever changes. We've already seen both Justin and Kevin reach across the aisle and consider working with Mary, but Cedrek seems all in on the current Vula 4.
Early on, it's good to have those bonds because no one wants to be the first one out. No one does.
Justin's Survivor debut is quiet despite his loud wardrobe, but he still quietly puts himself in a good position on what's looking like a bad tribe. He's a member of the Majority Alliance, but the underdogs still see him as someone they can work with. And in one of his only confessionals, he sort of successfully explains how his job at his family's pizzeria will help him play the middle of his tribe.
But I'm still trying to keep in the middle as much as I can right now. It's the same approach I take at the restaurant. It's just going in the morning, taking inventory, seeing where everybody's at. Where do you need me? What can I do? You know, do you need me to go get supplies? And kind of taking it from there.
Footage of Justin chopping a coconut while Say talks about tribal council plans going awry makes me wonder if he's eventually going to chop her. But things like his late introduction and his lack of content while being one of Vula's 2 swing votes make me wonder if he'll impact the season much at all. I guess it's too soon to know if Justin will become a formidable player or if he'll just be one season-long pizza meme.
Well, I've been watching since day one. I was 30 years old when your first episode aired, so I'm a little older. And I was literally laying at home in my pajamas, eating my M&M peanuts.
Like Justin, Chrissy isn't one of the premiere's main characters, but she doesn't fully fade into the background either. Like Justin, Chrissy also talks about how her job will help her win.
I'm a lieutenant on the Chicago Fire Department, and my job is totally going to help me out here.
And like Justin, Chrissy joins her tribe's Majority Alliance, but still connects with the people on the outs too, except Charity because
she doesn't talk to me.
Chrissy may not have emerged from the episode looking like a front-runner, or even a front-runner-up, but her early introduction and her mat chat could be good signs for her future. She talks to Jeff about being the oldest contestant, and it seems like feeling underestimated is going to be a big theme throughout the season.
I'm ready to pounce. I'm ready to have these conversations and get the one person that I don't trust on my tribe out.
If someone is making this face at Tribal Council, then their game is probably not going great. Despite her cool bangs and cooler sweater, Mary is an outcast on the Vula tribe. She voted against the leader of the Majority Alliance. She can't find a hidden immunity idol because it's currently held by the same person she voted against. And her closest ally has already been eliminated. Add in that the only person introduced later in the episode is Star, plus Vula tribe's many vulnerabilities, and it seems like not even a Hail Mary could save Mary's game. But it only seems that way because we haven't talked about the positives yet. Her first confessional may come late compared to every person who's ever won, but it's about her natural fire-making ability, and that could be important later on. At least for now. Even though so far, Mary is playing with the same slower-paced social-first strategy as Stephanie, Steph took all the heat from both Say and the editors. Just like last season when Annika was the main focus, while both she and Rachel were on the bottom of Gotta Tribe. Were Stephanie and Annika more heavily featured because they both got eliminated earlier? Maybe. Here's another question. Why was Mary's bond with Kevin so heavily featured if he was just going to betray her at the first tribal council and never work with her again? Partnerships are going to be paramount to this season, and even if Mary flopped harder than one of the fish, Loggy is probably going to win as a reward soon. I think there's still time for her to become the queen to Kevin's king. She's in a bad spot now, but her edit is too complicated for her to just be the next one voted out of Vula.
Hey, listen, Jeff, I've been trying to get out here for the last 20 years.
We're glad you're here.
The season opens with Mitch finding out he'll be on the season, and soon after, he Matt chats with Jeff, where the theme of being underestimated comes up again. Later on, when one of his tribe mates, David, discovers the animal symbols needed to unlock the hidden immunity idol, it's Mitch who narrates the wild turtle, lizard, octopus, fish, dolphin, and red eagle hawk chase through the jungle searching for them.
What the freak is happening right now? Our tribe is all over the place. We have 0 supplies, no shelter built, no fire, and we're just going on this goose hunt.
He also asks David for help carrying bamboo, only to realize he can do it alone. It's another beat about being underestimated, only this time Mitch underestimated himself. Even though he's not currently in a majority alliance, he at least connected with someone who is, Chrissy. And Mitch is lucky to be on the Siva tribe, because there, as long as an entire 4-person alliance doesn't form just because they don't trust you specifically, you're playing a pretty good game. That I think Mitch is the 10th most likely person to win is less about him and more about how unnervingly positive or unprecedentedly enormous almost everyone else's edit was.
I'm not here to pleasure everybody. Come on. One, there you go. 2. I know. How do you want me to do? No, keep going.
I think it'll always be an uphill battle for someone with David's body type to win Survivor, but he's not worried about looking like a threat.
I want to be the hero. I have no problem waving a giant sign, like, you need to worry about me.
And that's just part of why I think he's probably going to lose. But David's debut has its pros. He's in the majority alliance on the Siva tribe, he's got high visibility, but not too high, and we learn about his personal life.
There's a lot that people don't realize. I mean, they're never gonna know. Like, I'm a huge rom-com guy. Like, I'm a big sap. I'm a hopeless romantic.
He also loses out on most of the content about the animal symbols he finds. Charity criticizes his choice to be so forthcoming about them. And though David doesn't come off like a total caricature in this premiere, the editorial groundwork is undeniably laid for his edit to quickly turn irreversibly over the top.
You honestly will never know what's gonna come out of my mouth. The lack of filter, it gets me in trouble a lot of the time.
In this premiere, Say broke the record for most confessionals in a single episode. She had 21. The previous record holder had 18, and it was Tony from an episode of Winners at War that only had 9 people in it. Say is a huge presence from the first boat ride all the way to tribal council. She forms a majority alliance through sheer force of will and finds the Vula tribe hidden immunity idol via the same methods. The episode title, The Get to Know You Game, is her quote. And though her confessionals about idol hunting and tribal council were circumstantial to the episode, she still has personal content too.
Every step of it was surreal. Like, it wasn't just all me. It was all the women who raised me, who just constantly pour into me to not stop.
Did anyone else think she was about to thank Cedrek and the rest of the Alliance for helping her get the idol? But despite all her successes, Say's edit was mostly negative. The first thing we learn about her is that her lack of filter gets her in trouble. Then she's on screen as Jeff warns the cast to not let fear take over. And even though Say's allies are loyal, for now, they've all recognized what an intense player she is. Also, they want to flush her idol so they can find it for themselves. Usually, anyone whose edit is this big and this complicated this early on is probably not the next sole survivor. But people like Kathy, Holly, Nick, and Andy were also messes at first, who all went on to have real winning potential or win. And Say's off to a way better start than any of them were.
There's a lot of things going on. Symbols, letters, ropes, all of which I have no idea how we got, what we're doing with them, or why we're even doing them.
For a guy that should have had a terrible premiere given the multiple public failures that kicked off his season, Kyle ended the episode in a majority alliance with a built-in partnership with Kamilla. He was warned as soon as someone started targeting him, and despite his early screw-ups, his story was always presented positively. He also already made good on who he said he'd be. In a confessional, Kyle describes himself like this.
I always viewed myself as a teammate who would get the job done.
And that's exactly what he becomes at the Supplies Challenge when he helps Kevin, the person he's competing against, finish the task after Kyle accidentally disqualifies himself. If he were introduced earlier in the premiere, if more of his content were personal instead of circumstantial, and if 2/3 of the Loggy tribe didn't get insurmountably strong edits, I'd see Kyle as one of the early frontrunners. I guess as Stephanie says,
time will tell. So I came into this game wanting to mess with people a bit, because I know I'm weak. I need someone else's name out there.
In her Ponderosa interviews, Kamilla talked about being knowingly annoying and wanting to sneak as many Valorant voice lines into the season as possible. I thought she'd for sure get to say this one.
Goodbye.
As she was voted out of the game pre-merge. But instead, I had to say this Valorant voice line.
Oh, sorry.
Because Camilla's Survivor debut was surprisingly strong and closely connected to the theme of being underestimated. Though she may consider herself a weak physical competitor, she shines as one of the episode's strategic stars. As footage of a spider lets us know we're about to watch some great gameplay, Kamilla casually builds herself a majority alliance while turning Charity into Siva Tribe's #1 target. By the end of the episode, we know what kind of player Kamilla wants to be, and we've already seen her successfully actualize it. She's also introduced to the audience about the same time Rachel was during the Survivor 47 premiere. Not bad company to keep.
So it's like you're instantly looking at everybody, you're going, oh no, am I the weakest link?
Thomas is one of the most cerebral players in the premiere. No surprise, since he's a Sophie fan. We meet him relatively early on through a confessional that presents him as a self-aware strategist and a social threat. Thomas is a physical underdog within the Loggy tribe, more content about people being underestimated, but that doesn't stop him from forming the California Girls Alliance with Joe and Shauhin, two of the biggest guys in the cast. If Thomas can successfully install Bianca into the California Girls, then his chances of winning go way up. But if Eva gets the 4th spot instead,
time will tell.
I can't believe I'm in like an all-male alliance. I know, me too. Me too, bro, to be honest. That's not the thing that I thought, was gonna be my thing.
Shauhin just feels like a winner. He's present early in the premiere. We check in with him twice before we've even met most of the rest of the cast. We see him during the intro, and his confessionals harken back to the theme of playing hard.
You look to another tribe, and it's like, I'm going to eat your lunch.
But the best thing Shauhin's got going for him, other than his spot in a fantastically named alliance, is just being a member of the Loggy tribe. At least half of them seem like the season's main characters, and he's no exception.
Not gonna lie, when I first came out on the beach, I thought it was David versus Goliath again. There's some big, giant behemoths there, but it's okay, because you know what, we're good too.
The main character, dare I say, the king of Vula tribe.
I'm kind of like the king of Vula right now.
Kevin is front and center from the marooning onward. He mat chats with Jeff, then he hurts his shoulder in the opening challenge, apparently a lot worse than what we saw. saw. Later, he redeems himself by winning tribe supplies, is pulled into a majority alliance, bonds with someone outside the majority alliance, and gets most of the airtime about being one of 2 swing votes at the season's first tribal council. Like Kyle, some of Kevin's content is circumstantial about competing in the supplies challenge. But unlike Kyle, Kevin is introduced to the audience much earlier. He talks about feeling underestimated, compares himself to a past winner, Yule, and his claim to the Vula throne is accompanied by way less clownish music than what would usually play if someone declared themselves king of their tribe.
So I definitely fixated on the bamboo. And I was like, this is what I'm gonna work on so that I have structure here. And so I was a bamboo pickup machine.
Eva's Survivor debut is so insanely positive, it sort of feels like a trap. She's spoken highly of by her tribe mates.
Eva just went straight for the bamboos, holding 10 bamboos in her hand, so she's like literally a beast.
She's one of the first people introduced via a confessional about being underestimated.
I'm used to being in a big male-dominated area, so this does not scare me at all. I'm gonna battle my ass off and I'm gonna beat them.
And right after that confessional about beating everyone, we see a knife strike a flint. Is it foreshadowing that Eva will win the final 4 fire-making? As a trailblazing contestant, I expected Eva to get a lot of positive content, but her premiere is one of the most dominant I can ever remember. She forms a partnership with Joe, who vows to hurt his own game if it means saving Eva's, and she's got people advocating for her to join the California Girls. Aside from the fact that, based on the show's typical editing style, I think she may have been too visible in this premiere to ultimately win the season, the only dark spot in Eva's debut is Thomas.
4 is the majority, so we're trying to figure out who else to bring in. Right now, Bianca is my number 1, and it should be Bianca in with us. But all of the guys really like Eva, too.
I'm a very direct person, and I expect others to be direct with me, and they're not going to be in this game.
That's our girl.
And who is Thomas standing with while he calls Eva our girl? Bianca, the girl he actually wants to be his girl within the California Girls Alliance. What will come of this brewing tension Eva has no idea exists yet? Not much, probably, all thanks to Eva's guardian angel.
I have made a decision. She's with me. I got her.
The only reason I ranked Joe higher than Eva is because I think Survivor 48 has a palpable guy is going to win aura around it. In a season of duos, this premiere sets up Joe and Eva as potentially the most important one. In a weird way, their partnership is also the worst thing about Joe's premiere because he's so moved by Eva's story, he promises to protect her even if it means getting voted out, which would obviously hurt his chances of winning.
Even if that hurts my game or whatever, but I gotta go home early. I'm not gonna let her down.
Like Eva, Joe might be too big a character with too much screen time too soon to make it all the way. But like Shauhin, Joe just feels like a winner to me. He's introduced early with literally the first confessional. In it, he talks about his job and about wanting to be an ally people know they can rely on, which Eva does later on. Joe makes fire and he's a California girl, who were all on screen as he talks about getting to the end with a group. He's the most socially connected person on the Loggy tribe and my pick to win the season, so long as he doesn't sacrifice himself for Eva. Thanks for watching. If you're so inclined, please like and subscribe and come back next week for another round of Survivor Power Rankings.